Hello, everybody. Thanks again. Welcome back to my channel. I want to say uh, thank you for all the comments and support that I have been getting on YouTube and at chess.com. A lot of people have been going over there, becoming my friend, sending me encouraging messages, etc., etc., concerning the content. Same thing with Lee Chess. So I appreciate it, and that gives me the great pleasure and energy just to keep it moving and keep bringing you quality chess content. So I want to say first of all, thank you very much, and I appreciate all of you. So those of you that are new, please hit that thumbs up button. That is the straw that stirs the drink. It moves the videos up in the YouTube algorithm. So if you like this content, this channel, please hit that thumbs up button. Please consider supporting the channel in the links below. There's always DVDs and books related to whatever opening that appears on the board. And there's just a lot of content on the channel. Just check it out. I'll put links at the end of the video, but just check it out. But definitely hit that thumbs up, and please consider subscribing. So let's get right into it. We are stepping into the time machine once again. We're going all the way back to 1974, right? We're going to era of bell-bottom sideburns, right? Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. We're going way back to the 1974 chess Olympiad that took place in Nice, which is in southern France, near the border of Italy. And this game took place between Tal, famous former world champion Mikhail Tal, with the black pieces, and he was on the first reserve board of the Soviet Union at the in this Olympiad. Man, these Soviet teams back in those days were so strong. Like every Olympiad, it was ridiculous. They might as well have just given the gold medal to these guys. So on this team this year, you had Karpov, world champion, on board 1, Korchnoi on board 2, Spassky on board 3, Petrosian on board 4. Okay? And for reserve, you had Tal. So he was like a standby. And the second reserve was Gennady Kuzmin. All right? And they were going against Spain here. And number 1 for Spain was Grandmaster Arturo Pomar. He was the only Grandmaster on the team. He was at board number 1. He lost his game to Karpov. And then you had 3 international masters. And then the other 2 players were FIDE masters. So this player with the white pieces, he was a FIDE master, or is a FIDE master. He's still alive. Javier Francisco Sans Alonzo. And he was FIDE master at the time, and 4 years later, in 1978, he would become an international master. So about this time, he was rated 2320, and he was 21 years old at the time. And he was the Spanish champion in 1973, so a year before. And just to give you an idea of the discrepancy between the teams, the average rating on the Soviet team was 2660 at the time, and the average rating on the Spanish team was 2428. So big discrepancy. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Soviet team destroyed Spain, won all of the games, but I want to show you this game for its instructional value here. So let's get right into it now. Javier Francisco plays c4, knight f6 from Tal, knight c3, e5, classical stuff here. Knight f3, knight c6. This is known as the English 4 knights variation. Transpositional possibilities do abound in these English systems. You can get into reverse Sicilians. Just to name one example. d4 is played. E takes d4, knight takes d4, and now bishop b4 from Tal. And it takes on like a Nimzo Indian flavor Leningrad system. h6 is played, questioning the bishop. Bishop goes to h4. And once the bishop commits off of this c1, h6 diagonal, and black doesn't have to worry about the bishop, say going back to d2 or playing knight takes c6 and going back to d2. Black doubles the pawns. Bishop takes c3, b takes c3. This is a major tabia in these Nimzo Indian type positions, whereby black is willing to part with the bishop pair, but as compensation, he has a rock solid structure, all right, and he has pawn pawn weakness to attack on the king side, and that's going to be on the queen side. I'm sorry, and that's going to be black's basic strategy is to attack this weakness, gradually trade down pieces to reduce white's attacking possibilities, and prove that he doesn't have enough compensation for taking on the weakness. So this tells us that white in general must play actively. All right, and this is rich position and provides enough imbalances to make the game exciting. All right, so white conversely has the two bishops, right, the famed bishop pair, and he has some semi-open files, right, some diagonals to use. So he has chances, right? He has to play his cards right, but he has chances. And so this position for white is often appealing to attacking players. They'll take their chances with the weakness, but in exchange for these attacking possibilities. So here we go. Tal castles, e3, and now knight e5. And already the knight is going to come to g6 to question the bishop. Right? Bishop e2 here, and now knight g6. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f6. So already strategically, this is good for black because he's gotten rid of one of white's advantages, which is having the bishop pair. Because now there's no advantage here, so white just basically has this mediocre pawn structure. Another advantage I forgot to mention is that white does have the space advantage. He does occupy the first 4 ranks in the position. Okay, so the bishop pair is gone, and white still has double pawns, and must figure out a plan of attack here. Castles, d6, just simple development. Rook b1, utilizing the semi-open file, making it difficult for black to try to attack. Okay, for black to try to finish his development. He wants to bring the bishop out, but right now he can't because of the attack on the b pawn, and he must be careful. For instance, a move like rook b8 can be met by knight c6, for example, and then black really has nothing better but to return to a8 because of the pin on the b pawn. A6 can be played to prevent knight b5 at some time, right? Because it's annoying to have the knight to go to b5, attacking c7. All right. So Tal decides to play the move queen e7. c6 is possible here. Rook e8 is another possibility. And a6 is also, but Tal chose queen e7 here. And now bishop d3 and c5. And you can see now why Tal chose queen e7 is now after c5, knight b5 is not really an option here for white because there's no attack on c7. All right. Another benefit of the move c7 is it fixes the pawns on c4 and c3. All right. Remember, this is a major part of black's strategy here. He also takes on a bit of weakness itself on d6. All right. White plays knight e2. A little bit passive, but it avoids possible simplifications. So, for instance, say he did knight f5. Tal could just possibly take and go into this kind of even type middle game here. Less pieces off the board. All right. And this is just an example. Some material gets exchanged, and you have a game on your hand. So this was a possibility. Less pieces, and both sides have pretty much taken on some weaknesses. Black has the d6 pawn. He's ready to advance to d5. White has the pawn on c3. White has a bishop. Position's pretty open, so the position's up for grabs. That was a possibility. Um, Black doesn't even have to take either. He can play queen f6 if he wants to be more ambitious. Just attacking the knight again, driving it back to g3, then b6, etc. But in this variation, right, to b6, with the idea of putting the bishop on the diagonal, White can take over the long diagonal first, since he has the support of the knight on g3. And then, of course, with the idea of bringing the knight to h5, attacking the queen, bishop is very powerful in this position. b8. Again, White is able to get a little initiative here. He takes here, bishop e6, and notice the focus on the c4 pawn here. f4, knight g4, again focusing on the weakness. So rich position, right, with good amount of possibilities for both sides. Of course, it's going to experience the favor the more experienced player. Knight e2 was played instead. The idea is still the same, is to go to g3 with the knight. b6, right? Planning on bishop b7, right? Where else does that bishop go? It clarifies the situation on the b pawn, b7, and develops the bishop. So good move by Tal. Knight g3, and now bishop b7. Notice the difference between this variation and the last variation. In this variation, where White played kind of passively with knight e2, he's too slow. Sorry about that. Hold on 1 second. Okay. He's too slow to take over the h1 to a8 diagonal. So notice after knight g3, bishop b7 right now. Right? Black gets the diagonal first. Whereas in the other variation, knight f5, queen f6, knight g3, b6. It's White who gets it first. Alright, just some food for thought there. So b6 happened, knight g3, bishop b7, queen h5. So White is getting his king side attack underway here. Of course, we can see knight f5 is in the mix. Just building up on the storm clouds over Black's queen side here. And Black hasn't really started to address the weakness of those c pawns. All right. So queen e6 is played. All right. Another idea. My first idea upon looking at this game was just simply knight e5, hitting the bishop on e5. And play could go rook fd1, for example, rook a d8, queen f5, threatening mate, and then you take the bishop, of course. Again, even looking game. Both sides having some weakness in the position. But here, I would say Black is a bit better here. Okay, his pawn structure is pristine, and he has a strong bishop over the knight. So I think knight e5 is a little better here, but queen e6 is not wrong. So now that rook says, hey, my job is done on the b file. There's no reason, nothing happening over there, and comes to d1. Rook a d8. The other rook comes in, and now knight e5. Now has a critical situation. You can see now that there's really no good way that is to maintain this pawn. And going in, White has to realize that when you play this type of opening, this type of Nimzo Indian type systems, where you allow the pawns to be doubled, many times, Black will win one or two, both of these pawns, but White's attack on the king side will carry the day in form of compensation. All right, you'll see this a lot, especially in the Zamish variation of the Nimzo Indian, where Black will have the bishop on a6 and everything is collapsing on the queen side, but White will have this raging attack on the other side of the board. So remember that don't, it's not a priority to try to hold those pawns. Right? You must be willing to sacrifice the pawns to get to the king. Here, Alonzo plays the move e4, preparing knight f5. Another idea is, of course, preserving the bishop to use, for attacking purposes later on. So let's say after bishop f1, knight takes c4, e4. Now, with the same idea, knight going to f5, rook fe8, knight f5. Say the knight returns, and see how the bishop can jump in and be annoying. Right? Bishop b5 hitting the rook. And again, just another sample of variation here. Bishop c8, bishop b3, rook fe8, rook e3, with the idea of bringing the rook to the g file. Say bishop takes, c4, again being annoying with the bishop. Again, another sample line right here. I tend to like black there. So you can see the purpose of e4 here, not only to bring the knight to f5, but also make room for the rook to come from e1 to e3 and then operate along the third rank on the black king side. Bishop a6, more pressure on the queen side pawns. Just like I said, this is usually black's main idea. Maintain a rock solid structure, hold white's king side off, trade pieces judiciously, all right, and then make white pay for his weaknesses. So white really must play energetic in these type of lines. Knight f5, he's always going for it, all right. Tal plays g6, which is an obvious looking move. Very ambitious here. Wow. So knight takes h6 from Alonzo. All right, and this is his like moment of glory here. He has a chance at glory here to take down a former world champion. All right, so knight takes h6, king g7 from Tal. All right, and now Alonzo plays queen g5. All right, with the idea, I'll give you the idea. Let's imagine white had another move. The idea is to play knight f5 check, king g8, and then f4, because after all, the knight on f5 cannot be captured. Let's say knight d3. That's bad because it just brings more firepower into the battle for white. The rook comes up to the third rank for free, basically. A black defender is gone, a white attacker enters into the fray. So that's no good. Another idea is f6 and just queen g3. Again, maintaining the pressure on g6 square. When the knight moves, the pawn will be taken. So that's white's idea. It's a great idea. However, black is to move here. So after queen g5, Tal just simply played f6. This move is important because I'm going to show you a variation later why this move is important. But f6 hitting the queen. So now knight f5 is not going to get the job done here. Because even though it's check, the queen can just sacrifice itself, and then black is just winning after queen takes f5. So after f6, white has to move, and now rook h8. Why do I have those squares highlighted in green? Because those are the squares that white's knight cannot go to. All right, this means that the white knight is trapped. So knight f5 check, g takes, queen g3, king goes to f8, e takes f5, and Tal plays queen g8, offering the exchange of queens, and basically white is just down a piece. So that's it. Alonzo was forced to resign, so he kind of missed his shot at glory in defeating the great Tal, or at least bringing him to the brink. I'm not saying that he was winning, but let's go back now. So we're going to go back to bishop a6 and knight f5 here, which is a fantastic move. g6 from Tal. Okay, now Alonzo here played knight takes h6. The correct move here is amazing queen h4, which is a very powerful move. So first, let's just refute this idea of g takes, getting greedy, grabbing the knight. Can't grab the knight. It's too many open ranks and files here. So g takes f5, for instance, is met by e takes f5. And the queen goes back to d7. I have that highlighted in yellow because the queen cannot operate on any of those squares. So driving the defender away. f6. Okay, creating a mating net around the king. Queen could come to g3, and then queen g7 checkmate, or queen takes h6. So only move is knight g4. Okay, hitting the queen again, right? Because the queen is the only piece protecting the knight on g4. Queen goes back to c8, only square possible to keep the knight protected. But then the rook just drops back to e4, and now black is just lost here. Say knight takes f6, queen takes h6. You know, let's make some moves. Knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, f5, check, check, king h8, and you can see the material starts falling. All right. So we've already showed that g takes f5 is not possible here. So what does black play here after queen h4? Well, black has to just keep things close to the vest, and play a move like h5. This allows white time to continue his attack. He played knight e7, check, king g7, and now f4. Again, the knight on e7 is protected, so you have time to attack this knight. Knight d3, rook d3, rook fe8, knight hops into d5, bishop takes c4, right? Not just being greedy, grabbing the pawn, but getting the bishop into the game and being there to exchange off some pieces. But knight c7, forking queen and rook. Queen d7, knight takes, rook d1. And now we enter in a situation where white is up to exchange. All right. And again, this is just a sample line. But white is up to exchange, has more space in the center. All right. And black's king side is kind of weak. So this, to me, gives white enough compensation for his pawn structure, right? He's up to exchange, more space, and black has a weak king side. Of course, different moves can be made, but this is like a general outline of the attacking possibilities that white has. Of course, that black has. I'm sorry, white has. So, of course, does black have to play bishop takes e4 there? No. However, let's say he plays rook c8 to avoid the fork of knight c7. Then this loses. You see? Because the attack is so strong and you have the open files and open ranks. See, rook comes to g3. And this is going to end up losing for black. And notice how the bishop on a6 is just out of the game along with the rook on c8. This is why this move pretty much has to be played and white gives up the exchange. Black has to give up the exchange. So queen h4 was definitely the move to push black to the brink. Okay. It's hard for me to really see a way out in that situation. All right, after queen h4. Going back, then, if queen h4 is correct for white here, this means that g6 might be a little too ambitious. So instead of g6 here from Tal, maybe just bishop takes c4 here and start the trade of pieces off. So bishop takes c4, knight takes c4. Rook comes to the third rank. So what I'm trying to say is you're going to get attacked if you're playing this way as black. You know, you got to make the choice. You know, you're going to get attacked. The question is, can you hold back the attack and then exploit the isolated pawns, right? And your extra material. Rook g8, rook d1, And some players don't like to play like this, in these situations. The idea behind Queen H4 is to play a move like Knight takes G7, for example. So therefore, if this rook captures on G7, then black will lose this rook with check on D8. Right, so a lot of tactics in the position there. Another idea is, instead of bishop takes c4, which I think is probably black's best idea there, it's just king h8 also, but it's a little slow. So bishop f1, queen f6, and it gives some time for white. And here, going to this endgame, but although white has weak pawns on c4 and c3, black has to worry about the pawn on d6, as now white has set up this Maroczy bind type formation, right, to make it impossible for black to protect his d pawn, advance his d pawn. All right. So our basic conclusion here is that white definitely had his shot at glory here. All the preconditions for attack, successful attack, were there. All right, especially after G6, right? Very ambitious move by Tal, and natural move. And let me show you one more variation. So, for instance, in the game, knight takes h6 was played, and then king g7. All right. Again, I showed you queen g5. This is what was actually played, and then the attack fizzled out after Tal's brilliant move f6. Then I told you that f6 was very important, right? That I didn't show you why. I'll show you why right now. Now, after king g7, white's last chance, right, at glory, right, at preserving the initiative, is to play again queen h4, but it's counterintuitive, because I'm sure Alonzo didn't play queen h4 because he was worried about this move, rook h8. However, the difference, the thing that's important is that the rook on d8 is being attacked. So therefore, after the powerful move f4 hitting the knight, if rook takes here, then you would just simply grab the rook on d8. All right, this is very, very strong. And now the queen is in black's backyard. Therefore, after f4, rook d8 has to be done, and now there's a legitimate threat here against the knight on h6, but the knight on f4 is also threatened. So f takes e5, rook takes, and now white goes into an endgame. King takes f6. Now, to be totally transparent and honest here, I think that this endgame is superior for black. That he probably, find between two equally strong grandmasters, that black will probably figure out a win, probably 6 out of 10 times here, due to the massive amount of pawn weakness in the position. All right, same color bishops. Of course, white's bishop is bad, and just isolated and double pawns everywhere. Black has better king, better bishop, better rooks, and so I think that black would definitely win this most of the time. Like, if I had to bet money, it would be on black. However, after knight takes h6, which wasn't the best move, right? I told you the best move was queen h4, very powerful move. But after knight takes h6, king g7, white's best here is queen h4. All right. After queen g5, things just collapse. As you can see, f6 now cuts the queen off from this idea of that we showed, previously, of rook h8 and all that stuff like that. See, so now if white tried queen h4, it would be ridiculous because rook h8. And you see the same idea. Knight was trapped, and the game ended. Okay, so that concludes our look back to the 1974 chess Olympiad. Once again, won by the strong Soviet team here. I think United States. I want to say United States came in third, third that year. I have to look at it again. But that concludes our look and travel back in time. I hope you enjoyed that game. I hope I was able to show you something about the variation. Once again, please hit that thumbs up, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Check the links below. There's a donation link. There's books down there. But like I said, if you can't donate or anything like that, I get it. But just hit that thumbs up. It's free and it helps the channel, and I would appreciate that so much. If especially if you like the content, if you realize this is good chess content here, please hit that thumbs up button. So I'd love to hear your comments about this game below. And I'll see you guys on the next video.